Want to see how I make this luxurious foaming sugar scrub? Please stay tuned. Right here, you'll see me changing my scale to ounces because that's how I have the formula written down. Right here, I am tearing out my scale. Right here, I'm just going over what I will be mixing together. I decided not to use the aloe vera juice, but I did want to talk about me using pH balance strips to test the pH balance of my formulation. I was basically talking about what it was used for, what you need it for. Basically, if you have anything that is water soluble in your recipe, you want to use this, or in your formulation, not your recipe. Right here, I started looking at my formula and seeing that I had aloe vera gel written down. And I decided not to use the aloe vera gel because it was already packed with a lot of nutrients. I substituted the aloe vera gel for honey. So I decided to go ahead and use honey in my formulation. Here I am pouring in my soap base. When I was doing this, I should have realized that it was coming out way faster than I was expecting it to. I shouldn't have doubled back. Like, that pour right there was just a no-no. Right here, I'm looking like, yo, I just went over all the way. But I calculated this and just went ahead and fixed my formula off camera. So right here, it may look like I am stirring fast. I just sped up the video just a little bit because you want to be extremely gentle, or stir very slowly, what I'm trying to say. Because you will kick up bubbles, and when you start adding your sugar, you'll have a lot of foam sitting on the top of it, and that's something that you do not want, because child, I almost did that and it wasn't good. So right here, I am talking about why I am testing the pH balance of my soap base. It's just because of the preservative that I'm using. It's good in a range of 4 to 8. So I wanted to keep it in between that. I didn't want to go over that, and I didn't want to go under that. I wanted to be in a neutral state. So to use these test strips, you have to dip all 4 of the little cubes on the test strips into the liquid, and you're going to wait 15 seconds for them. It has a color diagram on the back where you can match the color to the back of the diagram or on the back of the bottle, and it will tell you exactly where the pH is at. So for this, you want to wait 15 seconds. The only time that you have to wait a little bit longer is for distilled water or filtered water, and that will take a total of 3 minutes. Here I am starting to look at the back of it to see if the color, I had given it the 15 seconds that was needed, and I am starting to show you how to match it up. So the pH balance of this formulation was at an 8, so I was extremely happy about that. I already knew the balance for my soap base, so I was like, well, I'm gonna just do a demonstration for the camera. Right here, I am matching it up, and it was completely at an 8. I know you see my baby in the background. Hi, baby. But yes, that was good. So I went ahead and threw that in the trash. So now it's good to go ahead and add my Optifin into my formulation. Here, I just decided to give y'all a close-up of it, and I'm so happy because now I can go ahead and add my Optifin and start adding my sugar into my my formula. Sorry, I keep on saying recipe, but it's a formula. Okay, so right here, I was like, well, how do I want to add this Optifin into here? Because I know it's going to drip down the side, but you know what? I went ahead and winged it. I completely forgot to grab a pipette, and I didn't want to have to reset up everything just to go get some a pipette. So I went ahead and decided just to pour it in, which I did pour this kind of slowly, but it started leaking down the side of the bottle. I tried to use the whisk to break the fall or help it. I don't know what I was trying to do, but it wasn't working. Then I tried to use my spatula, and that didn't help at all. None at all. I should have got a stick and just made sure, like a popsicle stick, and used that, because that way I could have poured it down a popsicle stick and made sure it wasn't going down the side of the container. But I didn't know where that was at either. So now that I got the Optifin in there, I was like, okay, well, I made a mess, so I had to clean the side of the bottle. The label faded a little bit, but I was completely okay with it. As long as I got it into my formulation, it was perfectly fine with me. So right here is where I noticed that the label had rubbed off a little bit, and I was like, oh no, Rilo. I'm just playing. But I decided to go ahead and move that and my soap base out of the way so I can continue making the product. Right here, I started to stir in the Optifin into the product, and I was loving the smell of the Optifin. I don't know what it was, but as soon as it touched that product, I was like, yes, it smells divine. That's what I was saying. I was like, oh, it smells divine. So right here, I was completely satisfied with the stirring process. So now it was time for me to start adding in my sugar. I was talking about adding a fragrance oil, but since I'm using honey, I decided just not to use it at all. So I don't know why I showed that if I'm not going to use it. And I also didn't use the colorant that's sitting on the countertop right next to it either. So right here, it is time for me to go ahead and start adding in my sugar, which you can use whatever type of sugar you use. I just used Best Choice granulated sugar from Walmart, or you can find it at your local grocery store, wherever. So I started scooping in the sugar with a spoon. I was just like, okay, this is taking a little bit longer than expected, because I was only getting like 0.05 ounces out of the time, and it was not working. So I was like, okay, you know what? It's time to start pouring. It's a big bag of sugar, but I'm about to go ahead and start pouring. So now that I got to the halfway mark of what my formulation needs, I decided to go ahead and stir it in right here, just to ensure that everything was mixed in well at the end. I didn't want any clumps or anything, so please be mindful of that when you are making a sugar scrub, because you will get clumps, and you don't want clumps in your final product. So right here, I decided to give y'all another close-up as I attempted to show y'all and stir it in at the same time, and it wasn't working as I thought it was going to, but I did the best I could. So right here, I'm like, oh, it looks so delish and it looks so yum, but it is for your body. So please do not think that this is something to eat, because even though it's made out of 100% organic products and everything is food grade, you still don't want to eat it. Right here, I'm about to look and test the consistency to make sure it is what I want it to be. And I was like, yeah, I'm so happy that I took the time out to go halfway with the sugar. And now I'm about to go ahead and start adding the rest of it the rest of the way. Because I was like, well, I could put this part, or if it stays at this consistency, I could put it into a squeeze bottle where you can squeeze it out onto your rag or onto your loofah or your hand and use it that way. But I wanted to put it into a jar right there. So I was like, well, that's not going to work. So we have to thicken it up some. So since I am changing the sugar volume or how much I am using of the sugar, I am grabbing a pen so I can write it down on how much total sugar I am using for this formulation. So right here, I decided to take the whisk out because, well, no, I kept on using the whisk because it wasn't too thick. And I added just a little bit more of sugar. It's still not at the same as my liquid, but it's almost there. So I was like, ooh, look at this close up. Looks so good. But I was getting closer to my consistency goal. So I was like, okay, I'm going to take it bit by bit. And I did make sure that I added some more sugar into this because this is still a little too liquidy for it to be into a jar. Even though it's going to set up or, thicken up overnight, I still wanted it to be a little bit thicker just so when it sets up, it's still not really running. I was looking to make sure that I got all the sugar off the bottom and out of the corners of the bowl because I don't want no part untouched. So right here, I am going to finish adding in the rest of the sugar into my formulation or into this product. And I was so happy with the way it turned all the way out. And I was just like, oh, so happy. This was my first time ever making this. So I was like, I'm happy I studied it and watched other people's videos. And I want to thank you to all those on YouTube that actually do show how to make this product because y'all taught me a lot. Even though I didn't use nobody's formula, I went and made my own. It was still a good start.